Now, there are some major issues that may be coming up in the 2012 legislative session. I'm going to call on at this time Clint Mueller, if he'll ease up here, give us a brief overview of his thoughts regarding the 2012 legislative session. Clint? And while he's coming, I think that's a very appropriate what you just started to do. Our staff has done an outstanding job in working with the legislative delegation, not only during the session, but probably more importantly, what happens outside the session. And we'll talk more about that later. So give Clint and his staff a real nice hand.
Thank you, Melvin. I want to also thank the chairs and vice chairs for the work that you did over the summer months in coming up with the amendments for our platform and keeping our platform fresh. As you know, things are always changing in the state, so we have to constantly change with what's going on at the legislature, and this is your opportunity to make your voice heard. I also want to thank you all for the work that you do back home working with your legislators. I want to encourage you when we go out in about a month to do district meetings to not only attend those district meetings yourself, but make sure you invite your House members and your Senate members to come to those district meetings. It's really important for them not only to hear from you, but to hear from others in your region, to hear from the ACCG policy staff. We're going to be talking, obviously, about the upcoming session and some of the things that will be on their radar. Some of those issues we will be pushing. Obviously, there'll be a lot of issues that we'll have to react to. I want to talk just a little bit, and I don't have but a couple minutes, about the priorities that you just adopted. And also want to mention a couple other items that may come up this year. But as far as the priorities that you just adopted, we've really got two major themes this year. One's on the revenue side, one's on the expenditure side. On the revenue side, what we're really asking the General Assembly to do is give you all more flexibility locally to really set a revenue structure that's right for your community. Every one of you are different in this room, and your economies actually are different. Some economies are more ag-based, some have manufacturing, some have a lot of utilities. You're all different. We think that you all need to have more authority at the local level to figure out what's the right mix of property taxes, fees, sales taxes for your county, and that's different. I can tell you, with all the laws that have been passed recently, your hands have really been tied. Look at property tax and all the rules and exemptions, very little that you have control over at the local level. About the only exemption you can call for at the local level is Freeport. So we're going to be asking the General Assembly to give you more authority at the local level to make those decisions. You've heard about the attempt to amend our state constitution to put a statewide assessment cap in place. Well, that's a one-size-fits-all solution that we don't believe works. If you all want to impose local assessment caps, well, that's your business. That's a debate that ought to take place locally, and you all, working with your constituents, need to make that decision as to, do we even do assessment caps, and if we do, what flavor are they? Do they have age and income restrictions? Again, most of this needs to be driven at the local level, not in Atlanta. We're also going to be looking at ways that you can use fees more effectively. A lot of you are moving to more fee-based revenues. You all need the tools to be able to levy those fees. Some of you are using fees in lieu of property taxes. And then giving you more flexibility with your local sales taxes and how much you've used towards operations versus capital. You know, right now, if you have one type of local penny, you can't have another type of local penny. Again, we think you all ought to be able to choose locally what type of local sales taxes you levy. So that's sort of on the revenue side, again, giving you all more flexibility with how you design your local revenue structure. And then on the expenditure side of the equation, we want to look at what are the things that are being done at the state and federal level that are constraining your ability to make decisions locally? What are those mandates? We talk a lot about mandates. What are those things that you can't control within your budget? They're non-discretionary areas of your budget. Some of those things we need to look at again and see, should those decisions be made locally instead of the state or federal level? We're getting a lot of mandates right now coming out of the federal level government. I mean, we just were able to stop a sign ordinance mandate where it was going to force you to upgrade all your road signs. The federal DOT was going to require that. That would be extremely expensive. We've got narrow banding. Some of you attended that session today. That's going to require some of you to upgrade your radio system. So we're not just talking about state and federal legislature creating mandates, but we're talking about a lot of state and federal agencies creating these mandates. We began last year with an initiative to start looking at all the rules and regulations on county governments and which ones that we could eliminate. that were required by the state. We looked at planning. We looked at some of the reporting requirements, some of the training requirements, some of the salary requirements, services that you're required to provide. So we're going to be looking at all those things again. So I encourage you to talk to your department heads, talk to your county managers, administrators. What are the things that the state requires you to do that causes you to expend time, resources, monetary resources, and you don't think the bang for the buck is there? You know, obviously you guys are trying to cut back locally on what you're doing right now. You're facing declining tax digest in a lot of places. What are the things that you're having to continue to spend money on that you think would be better spent somewhere else, maybe on public safety? That's the kind of feedback that we'd like to hear from you as we approach the legislative session. Again, I'm not going to have time to go into a lot of detail today. You all know that open meetings, open records, that's going to be a big topic next year. Our Attorney General has made it a centerpiece of his platform when he got elected, so he's going to continue to push that. So we're likely to see legislation in that regard. Criminal justice reform, I know some of you attended the criminal justice training session this morning. There is going to be a lot of focus placed on what we can do to reform the criminal justice system, and you all fund most of that system. When you look at your local courts, law enforcement, jails, the bulk of the cost is at the local level. So we want to make sure if we're going to reform this system that we're doing so in a way that saves the taxpayers money. If all we do is shift the costs from the taxes people pay to the state to the taxes people pay at the county or city level, we haven't really done anything for our taxpayers. We've got to reduce the costs that they pay at the state and at the local level. So I want to encourage you, too, to talk to your judges, talk to your prosecutors, talk to those folks that are involved in criminal justice in your county. This is our opportunity to get those issues out on the table. I think that's all I've got. One more thing. I want to encourage you all to attend some of the training that we're going to be doing this fall. We've already done a few training on the Immigration Reform Act. We've had 2 sessions. We had 300 people in Hall County and 200 people in Tift County, and we're going to open up 2 more training sessions. Real important for you to understand what those requirements are. Again, it's more requirements and mandates. However, there's a lot of teeth in the new law, and if you don't do what you're supposed to do, this review board that's been appointed can come in and actually impose sanctions on your county and on some of your staff and you individually. And then lastly, we have decided we're looking at doing some local option sales tax training. I know that's on your minds, doing the local option sales tax renegotiations with your cities, so we're going to be providing some of that training. With that, Melvin, I appreciate it, and I appreciate what y'all do. Again, if my staff or I can ever be of assistance to you, please call on us. Thank you.